Prophecy has almost been fulfilled for some of these leaks that we have seen in Pokemon Unite, and we're in a really interesting time because we actually don't know really much at all for what's on the horizon of Unite outside of Miraidon. Miraidon is definitely coming to the game. I think Koraidon is also extremely likely, very similar to a Mewtwo X and Y release. However, Miraidon is the only one we know of for sure inside the game after Gyarados. It should be hitting on Pokemon Day, but there is more that we kind of maybe know about, and then the rest of the year is pretty open. Let's get into it. Jake, your resident content cowboy here. Yeehaw. When I said the prophecy is almost fulfilled, I'm referring to this image right here that has so many Pokemon, almost somewhat in the order that they were supposed to come out in, but you can kind of see them in batches that were coming to Pokemon Unite. Outside of the Mewtwo's, this thing is just a list of basically everything that happened in this year, except for one big exception. We have Goodra, Lapras, Chandelure, Umbreon, Leafeon, Inteleon, Meowscarada, Metagross, Blaziken, Mimikyu, Gyarados, and then of course Phalanx, the one Pokemon from this image that we don't yet have in Unite. It's totally possible that whatever this leaked image was just complete dumb luck. These are all popular Pokemon, but seeing how many of them came out into the game in such a narrow window. This isn't like over the course of the game and we saw this image a long time ago. This felt very, very specific to this year of Pokemon Unite. Again, outside of the huge announcements of, you know, Mewtwo, Zacian, things like that. And then, of course, outside of Phalanx, who has not yet come to Pokemon Unite. I think it's very likely, given this image, that Phalanx, after the Miraidon, Koraidon fiasco, I'm already going to label it a fiasco. After the Miraidon, Koraidon fiasco, we could see Phalanx coming to the game as one of the next batch of Pokemon making its way into Pokemon Unite. I think some of the mechanics around this Pokemon, by the way, could be insanely cool. Having a train of Pokemon that work with you on a lot of your moves would be really awesome. I could see some Ice Climbers, esque gameplay from a Pokemon like this, especially with how you can line up some of your abilities. I would really love to see something like this come to Unite, and I think it's very possible. It's interesting because this image reminds me of that old image from a long time ago that convinced us that Blaziken was coming to the game. The image I'm talking about is the one that was shared from the Pokemon Unite Philippines Facebook account that had Blaziken, Wobbuffet, Dragonite, Decidueye, Gallade, and Zarina. And the reason that this image picked up so much steam is because it started to kind of like all hit back to back. We had Decidueye, Dragonite, and Zarina all hit early on in the game. So immediately this image just became like gospel. This is what's coming to Pokemon Unite. And the crazy thing is, I think all of these Pokemon could still make it to the game. Now that we have Blaziken, it's not like Gallade or Wobbuffet couldn't happen, especially, when you have a Gardevoir Battle Pass. Here's the interesting thing. We have 2 Gardevoir Battle Passes, but we only have Gardevoir. However, if they treat Gallade like they've treated the Mewtwo's, these Battle Passes would actually apply to multiple characters. I don't know if that's exactly what's happening with something like this, if they would do something like that in the future, but that's kind of an interesting idea. And then Wobbuffet's just a cool idea for a Pokemon in the game in general. Something that really counters what your enemies are trying to do could be a really interesting gameplay mechanic. However, I don't know if any of this is real or if it's just all wishful thinking and they got very, very lucky. It's weird because all of these images, of course, could be that. And we also have something from the Chinese beta that makes us think there's one other Pokemon that is kinda sorta confirmed to come to Pokemon Unite. That Pokemon is everyone's favorite, Piplup. I mean, I love Piplup. My daughter loves Piplup. Who wouldn't like a little Piplup inside of Pokemon Unite? It would be a really interesting choice to bring this to the game. Another starter coming to the game that would probably function as a defender or all-rounder. So not another, supporter or something, which the game probably could use a few more of. And the reason that we think this is possible is this image from a live event for the Chinese demo has this Pokemon. Now, look, There are tons of amazing Pokemon. They could just have some of these mascots hanging around. But it happens to have Pikachu, it happens to have Scorbunny, and it happens to have Piplup front and center. It's very possible that we see this as one of the next Pokemon coming to Pokemon Unite, not only just because it's there, but also because it would be a really, really popular choice. And now that the future is open in front of us, I'm really not sure what direction they're gonna go with some of these releases, and I'd love to hear from you what you think the future of Pokemon Unite is going to look like. There also was an interesting discussion around Tropius possibly coming to the game, but it looks like we may have gotten that leak wrong at some point. And then there was a ton of rumors around Flygon making it to Unite with the ability Levitate. I think we may have, confused Tropius and Leafeon. We may have confused Metagross and Flygon, but who knows? These are still two options for things that could come to the game. It just doesn't seem like anything has really panned out since we sort of heard the initial buzz around those two Pokemon. I would say without question, now that we are through the Mewtwo and Zacian year, we are not letting up on Legendaries. In fact, they mentioned inside one of the producer letters that there will be more Legendaries coming to Unite, and they're clearly making a classification system based entirely around that. We have the EX license system, which is really interesting. This season, EX licenses, Mewtwo, Y, X, and Zacian, are all banned once you hit Master Rank. But it's really interesting. When you look at the EX licenses allowed per team, you can see it says 0 out of 0 once you hit a Master Rank game. However, that number could change. That number could be 0 out of 1. So once we move past Draft, which is next season, maybe we keep Draft, but you still are only allowed 1 EX license. With that, they would release more EX Pokemon into the game. In my brain, you would have Mewtwo, Zacian, Koraidon, Miraidon. At least you would have 5 Pokemon that are all EX options, but there could be more coming to the game, and I think it's insanely unlikely that we won't have a huge EX release around the time of Pokemon Unite's anniversary after Worlds. This could also be the time that we would get some sort of change to the map. I think at this point, if we haven't seen a change of the map sort of before the competitive season really takes shape, we're not going to see that until Worlds. Worlds basically would be the capstone of this entire, map, Theia Sky Ruins. All of it would happen then. It was released with Mew. They brought all this stuff in, and then boom, after Worlds, year 3, that is when we see the new map, and that is when we see whatever the next legendary is that would be coming to Pokemon Unite. I don't know enough about Scarlet Violet and sort of the DLC and what they would bring to the game. I don't know if Terapagos or whatever Ogrepon is a legendary Pokemon or a mythical Pokemon, if that would fit the bill for something that should come to the game, but I would love to hear from you. With all of the information that we have out there, what do you think is most likely for the future of Pokemon Unite? Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. It's really an exciting time because the PTS could update very soon and we could learn a ton of information. Until then, Gyarados is on the horizon and a bunch of your allies never evolving is coming very soon. I love you. I'll see y'all next time. We did it. We certainly did it.